Welcome back to another episode of AUTOMOTIVATED. JB, how are you today?
I am really automotivated to be here because we got a great subject to talk about today.
It's an exciting subject. I'm really excited about this. I mean, it's something that we're watching happen with the transition of just the auto industry in general. But today what we're going to talk about is how to prepare your shop for the rise of these EV hybrid types of vehicles. Now, what are you seeing in the industry just as far as this transition to electric vehicles from a consumer standpoint?
Well, I don't think there's going to be much of a choice because, as you may have heard, most of the manufacturers have definitely said no more gasoline engines. We're all moving to electric. So the customers are just going to be pushed on. I mean, I know there's always going to be a little bit of pushback. I mean, one of the things that I think about here, Shana, is when I started to be a tech, that's when we were making the transition from carburation to fuel injection. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this as in a similar way because back then, if I remember guys when they saw the injected cars come, oh, I ain't touching that. And they didn't. There was plenty of car work to go on for a good while, but I was like really happy about it. And I jumped on. And I think that's an important lesson learned from that transition to the coming one that we have going on. Mm-hmm. So some of the shops are going to say, nope, not going to do it. And other shops, if you're on it already, because it's not something new. And just like fuel injection back then wasn't new either, there was those outliers. It's the same situation. So shops have to consider what they're going to do.
So I think that's a really good point. Making that decision, that's where it's going to start. So before we even talk about how your shop makes the transition, to your point, it's extremely important to determine if you're going to make that transition. What do you feel is going to happen to the shops that ultimately do not want to make that transition?
Gas engines and vehicles are not going to disappear just like that. They're not. I mean, right now, the average age of a car on the road is about 11, almost 12 years. And, that means if we were to go, a lot of the companies are saying around 2030 that they're going to do, the whole changeover. Well, there's still going to be another 11, 12 years on those gasoline vehicles. And it may even be longer because people are like, oh, I don't want that technology. Oh, I don't want to do that. So people are going to hang on to them. So that number is going to go up. So I feel that for a number of shops that choose not to go, as long as they make a plan to go with the flow with the vehicles that they have to work with, that they can exist for a long, long while. Mm-hmm. Those shops that just sit back and watch it, wait and ride the wave, not doing anything to prepare for it, I think they may be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with this. I think this is something that it's an inevitable thing that's happening, like you had described about before. So just like any transition in any type of industry, we've seen this industry transition with technology that they're using in their shops. And we see that firsthand with the products that Bolton's delivering. But then in addition, we also saw how shops have been able to transition during a pandemic. So this is just another thing that the industry needs to prepare for in order to stay competitive, stay ahead of the game. So I think that's a really great point that you're making. And yes, the transition may not have been as sudden as some others that the industry has seen. However, this is going to be something that really is, important moving forward for drivers everywhere.
Yeah, one of the items I looked up too about the transition, if you look, most of the major manufacturers are already committing to a very large percentage of their fleets, if not 100%, being a fully electric or some form of that. I saw a statistic just a little bit ago that by 2024, there's the expectation based on manufacturers, what they're saying today, that there's going to be 100 brand new electrified vehicles on the road, models that aren't here today. 2024 is only 2 years away.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy.
So it's a wave. It's coming, and I think it's important that, when you see the big wave, you either run out and get on the beach or you figure out how you're going to ride that. And again, the fuel injection thing weeded a lot of people out, but it's not just a chop and go. There's a period of growth and change. So if you're smart and you're making the plan, you can hang on and service these cars. Because remember, even though they're not gas, they still have wheels, tires, brakes, suspension, lighting, and things of that sort that still needed to be dealt with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So then, for the shops that are ready to make this transition, that are looking to stay ahead of the wave, looking to ride this wave, how do these shops prepare? What do they need to do, and how do they stay proactive?
And that's a great question. The number one thing, in my opinion, is that you got to start taking some classes on this. And the first piece of those classes has to be safety, because these vehicles pack a wallop that if you make the unfortunate mistake of crossing the wrong wires or touching the wrong things, or there's an issue, you're going to be pretty much a pile of ash pretty quickly. I mean, that's probably a little extreme, but the thing is, these vehicles are packing a wallop, and that affects everything that's related to that system. For example, air conditioning systems in these vehicles, they have to use a non-conductive oil in them, because the air conditioning is being run by the electric engine motor, I should say, and it's in a place that if a short circuit were to occur, electricity can flow. So if your shop doesn't know to service those vehicles with the proper refrigerant oil, you're putting not only your own people in danger, and no, this is a situation now. You're putting the drivers in danger. So there's lots of things. And so starting to learn, I think, is one of the most important things. Secondly, maybe not jumping in and buying the latest and greatest equipment right away, because this is going to be changing. 100 new vehicles in the next couple of years, and then everyone trying to go over by 2030, or at least 70% of them. There's going to be a lot of change in that situation as things move. So you might want to watch and see what new items that they put out there and which ones are going to stay longer than the other ones. Mm-hmm. And consider that when you're buying equipment.
Mm-hmm. I think those are all really great things to pay attention to. And I think the biggest thing is, in addition to the safety, understanding what's to come next, not investing in the wrong things, but is also making sure that the team is committed to this as well. I mean, we talk so much. I mean, not only are we talking about technology and the advancements within the industry, I think within the AUTOMOTIVATED community itself, we talk a lot about leadership in the shop and how to grow your business overall, and how to make sure that your team is also on board with this transition. Because to your point, there's going to have to be new training involved in this, and it's everybody that needs to commit to this change in the shop, not just the owner of the shop that's making this decision for them. So it's how are you also prepping your team to ride the wave with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the education is most important, because yes, it's going to change, but the basics of electricity are always going to be the same. So that's why I suggest that first. And also, it's going to make you prepare for how you're going to service these vehicles, because, the one hand method, not touching those orange wires, all these little things that you never would even realize, like the AC oil, can brutally change somebody's life if not done properly.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, JB, I think this is an exciting time for the industry. We talk about this all the time. We know we're the first to support technology in the industry. So just being able to ride along with it is exciting for the bolt-on team itself. But this is really a big opportunity for shops to stay ahead of the game, remain competitive early on, but ultimately make the best decision in what their long-term strategy is. So I appreciate you joining me for this awesome topic.
I appreciate you having me on board. It's electrifying.
Yeah, it's electrifying. I know that I'm feeling automotivated. You are feeling automotivated. So we hope the rest of our community is too. Let us know what your thoughts are on this transition to electric vehicles. Is this something that your shop has already invested in? If not, what is your game plan? What is your strategy? Is this something that you're going to do? We want to hear from our customers and our followers to get an idea of what's going on in our community. So make sure you drop your comments below. We want to hear from you. We'll be sure to respond back. But in the meantime, JB, it's a pleasure having you on.
You too. Thank you, Shay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.